Good evening, everyone. Welcome to iCareNU webinar 17, Canes Explained. Today, we will be focusing on white canes and everything we need to know about them. My name is Sylvia Chengo. I am a campaigns and engagement intern at Thomas Pocklington Trust. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome our guest speaker, Lydia Waker.
Thank you so much for inviting me to join today. And just before we start, I'm just going to share my screen. And I'm not as tech savvy as I'd like to be. I think we're sorted now. I've shared a screen, which is a PowerPoint presentation, which has a few points, mostly some writing on it, but everything on there I'm going to talk through. It's more a little bit of a help for me, so I don't go off tangent, really. So, I better introduce myself. My name is Lydia Waker. I am a vision rehabilitation specialist for guide dogs. I do the same job as what you might have heard as a ROVI or rehab officer or mobility officer out in the community where you live. And my job is, I love my job, and it's all about enabling people to do what they want to do in the way they want to do it. A big part of that, particularly being at guide dogs, is all about mobility. And I spend nearly every day at work working with somebody with a cane. So I'm very much team cane, and I'm hoping to share a little bit of my knowledge with you today. But equally, I'm really looking forward to hearing from everybody who's here, their experiences and questions once I've done my bit. Okie dokie. So what I want to cover today is a little bit of an overview about what a white cane is, who can use or benefit from using a cane, the different types of canes that are available, and why you might choose a particular type of cane, and the different uses for a cane. A little bit about cane training and what that involves, and options available for people with that. And I'm going to finish with just a few tips and a little bit of advice that come from me and the people that I work with. And then, as I've mentioned, we'll then have the second half of the session to pass over to everybody here to ask questions and share their experiences. So just a brief overview. So a white cane is essentially a white stick that identifies somebody as having a sight impairment. So that's one of the biggest functions of a white cane. Internationally, and our friend from Barbados will hopefully recognise this, it's something that was known internationally as something that people who are sight impaired or blind benefit from using, and is really helpful as identifying and indicating that somebody has a visual impairment, so that we can, in our communities, make the necessary adaptations for them. It's a tool to keep somebody safe and allow someone to be independent. And it's a fantastic mobility aid and can help provide information from the environment to help you navigate when you're out and about. So the bit about who can use a cane, well, anybody can use the cane if they choose to, who is blind or sight impaired, and they can benefit from using one. Wherever they're up at their kind of journey with sight loss or their current mobility, there's the potential that a cane could be for you. Okay, so I want to start, I've just shared here an image of the first cane I'm going to talk about, and I've also got one here to help me explain it. The first cane I'm going to talk about is a thimble cane. So this is it's white, and it's made of a reflective coating. It's quite light. It's about the width of a pen or pencil, and it's about 70 centimetres or up to 1 metre long. The one that I've got here has got little ridges which enable it to be folded down, which means that it can be easily stored away in a pocket or a bag. You can get other thimble canes that kind of fold up into themselves, or like a telescopic type. Same idea, exactly the same thing. So I'm just going to move on to the next screen, which hasn't got any images on. This has just got a few pointers for me to talk to you about. So a thimble cane does exactly what it says. It's a symbol. It informs people around you that you have a sight loss. It's a really useful tool for indicating to others that you have a sight loss and can help enable others to make those necessary adjustments that I talked about before. So, for example, having a thimble cane could enable you to stand at a bus stop and have your cane there, and all buses should then stop and tell you what number they are. Or when you get on the bus, having a thimble cane may encourage people around you to give you a bit more space, offer you a seat, etc. Perhaps if you were to go into a shop with your thimble cane, you may be offered assistance, or people may understand if you were to come across somebody and you might not recognise them because of your vision. Having a thimble cane might make people be more understanding of your sight loss. So, what do we do with a thimble cane? Well, we hold it diagonally in front of us, ideally. That way, it gives you a little bit of body protection if your cane was to come into contact with it. That's one bonus of it, really. However, a thimble cane shouldn't be used on the floor. It's not there to detect obstacles or keep you safe. A thimble cane's primary purpose is as a symbol of your visual impairment. It's really important that people don't use these on the floor, because that's not what they're designed for. You're not going to be very helpful for that. And most importantly, they don't put them on the floor and lean on them, because they're too flimsy for that. They're not going to give you any support if you needed that from a kind of support cane. So that is a thimble cane, really useful piece of kit, and can be used. Some people may have several different canes, but this is a really helpful thing to have in your bag when you're out and about, if that's the right cane for you. Okay, so next cane I'm going to talk about is one step up from the thimble cane, and it's a guide cane. So this is a little bit more substantial. It's a shorter version of a long cane, essentially. It's a little bit thicker and more substantial and a bit heavier. And the length of it, this one I've got here, is about 1 metre long. And again, this one folds up like my thimble cane does. I've got a picture on the screen there of a cane folded up and unfolded and somebody using it. Just to describe a little bit more about a guide cane. Well, you'd have this cane about the length that comes about to your waist. So it's longer than a thimble cane, but shorter than a long cane. It's kind of in the middle. A primary use for this is still about identifying and being a symbol of your sight impairment. It's not designed to be in contact with the floor all the time. However, it can be a really useful tool if somebody wants to check what's on the floor around them occasionally. So it could be useful for somebody, someone that I worked with who benefited from recently, is his residual vision enabled him to navigate obstacles around, and he could walk quite safely on the pavements. But once he got to a curve, he wasn't able to identify the depth of that curve. He also found it difficult to go up and down stairs. So that was where this cane was particularly helpful for him. So he would use it for those specific times. So he didn't use it on the floor all the time like you would a long cane. He used it for just giving him that additional bit of information about depth. And that's one of the really good uses for these. If you hold it in the same position you hold the cymbal cane, in a diagonal position, but you might hold it a little bit lower. Depends on what information you're trying to gather. So you might hold it up across your body or down towards the floor. If you were finding you were using a guide cane and actually you were needing to use it on the floor all the time and you needed more information and it wasn't doing what it needed to, then it might be that the next cane I'm going to talk about is better for you. But there's still a really good use for guide canes, and I definitely recommend them for people who need a little bit more than the cymbal cane, but aren't at that stage where they would benefit from a long cane. Okie dokie. So let's move on to the biggie now, the long cane. So just showing an image there of a long cane, folded up and also open, and somebody using one. So I'll describe the long cane that I've got with me here. At the top of the cane is a grip, or could be described as a handle. This one is made of like a smooth rubber, that's what they're generally made of. But you can get some fancy ones with leather and cork or different types of grips, but generally they're just like a rubber material. The rest of the cane is made of a white reflective material, and it has a tip at the end. I'm going to talk about tips later, so I won't go into that now. So if I just move on to the slide where I've put some points I want to talk about. So the long cane is long. It comes up to roughly your sternum of the person that's using it. Might be a little bit lower, might be a little bit higher. I look like I've frozen on the screen. Can anybody tell me if they can still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, that's okay. That's all that matters. Yeah, okay, good. I'm back in action there. Love Zoom for things like that. So where was I? So your cane comes up to about the height of your chest. The idea with the length of the cane is that it would give you, if you had your cane out in front of you, 2-step preview, or you would walk 2 steps. If you said the cane's found an obstacle, and you'd have 2 steps notice of that obstacle, giving you time to react. So that's why the cane should be kind of 2 strides length for you. So if you've got really long strides, you're going to need a longer cane. If you take shorter strides and you're a shorter person, you'll have a shorter cane. But there's a few more bits and bobs that get involved with that. If you're a super fast walker, you're going to need a longer cane because you're going to have less time to react. And just for preference and different conditions and different people, you may choose different types of length of cane. And that's something that you'd work out when you started using it and exploring what's best for you. So the long cane is held in a specific way that enables you to move it from side to side to give you information about the environment, to find obstacles, to maybe keep you in a straight line by following something that's in the pavement. and can give you really helpful feedback about where you are. So used effectively, the long cane is going to keep you safe from obstacles on the floor, because it's going to pick things up, it's going to find things before you walk into it. So, but I did say that we're going to talk a little bit about tips. So long canes come with different tips, different ends that you can attach. And the choice of tip that you would use would depend on the style that you use and technique you'd use your cane, and your environment, and a little bit of personal preference. So the first tip I'm going to talk about is the pencil tip. That's basically just like an extension of your cane with a smooth kind of ending to it, like the kind of end of a pencil, not the sharp end, the other end. The pencil tip is really good for people who use the 2-point touch tapping technique. So that's where they tap the cane from side to side rather than rolling it on the ground. It's less useful for if you've got keeping the cane on the ground, because it's going to get stuck in, pavement, uneven pavements, etc. So the pencil tip is used by people who walk with that 2-point touch, light touch, and can be really effective for that. And when I'm teaching people how to use a cane for the first time, I always have a go at that technique as well, because it can be really useful for people. It's a really elegant way of moving, and that's where people tend to go with the pencil tip. The next one I'm going to talk about is the marshmallow tip. So that's kind of the shape of a marshmallow, and so it's a round tip, the kind of curved end, and it rolls. Well, most marshmallow tips do roll. So this tip is really good because you can use it constant contact. You can keep the cane on the floor with it, but it's also light enough to be able to do the tapping. So it's quite a versatile tip. It's actually often something that I would recommend to people if they want to use those different techniques. So that's the marshmallow tip. And then you've got the rollerball tip. And that is a tip that's about the size of a golf ball, or you can get a jumbo roller that's even bigger than that. And that's the shape of a ball, and that rolls across the floor. It's really good because it glides over uneven surfaces. The only disadvantage of it is that because it glides so easily, it can mean you controlling the cane is a little bit more tricky. Excuse me. Hang on. Sorry. And also, you kind of don't get quite as much tactile feedback with that one. You might not be able to pick up some of the little kind of nuances of the environment, changes in surface that you would with some of the other canes. So that's the disadvantage of it. But there's lots of people that like it for its ease, and it will roll over things. It's less likely to jar in uneven surfaces. The other one I wanted to mention is a ceramic tip, like a little metal tip. This is less common, but I have worked with somebody who used this, and quite an experienced traveller, and they liked it because it gave them an audio sound as they were travelling and gave them information that way. So I think also for people who use echolocation, that can give you some extra help with that, and an audio sound just in general. So that's the ceramic tip. There's still an option available. So that's the tips. Let's just talk about the different types of long cane. So You can have a standard cane that you'd get perhaps from Ambutech. I'm not selling any particular brand of cane that would be made of aluminium. They also do, and other companies do, a lighter weight cane made of carbon. That can be beneficial for some people, particularly if they find it comfortable on their wrist. Having a lighter weight cane can be more comfortable to use, and particularly beneficial when you're doing that 2-point tapping technique. Having said that, the weight of the cane is often to do with the tip you've got. So if you've got a big jumbo roller ball at the end of your cane, it's still going to be quite heavy even with one of the lightweight canes. Most canes have little ridges along them which enables you to fold them up. And that's why they have elastic top, which enables you to put it away safely. So that elastic at the top, the little loop, that's what it's there for. It's not to put through your wrist, even though some people do that. It's really not a good idea because then you could get caught on things. So most canes are foldable for convenience. However, some people like a one-piece rigid cane. The reason for this is that it enables you to feel everything and all the tactile information through the cane. Because with the ones with the kind of joints, they take a little bit of information away. So a little bit of tactile kind of sensitivity is lost with the foldable canes. So that's where a rigid one-piece cane can be really helpful. However, you do lose the convenience of being able to fold up your cane when you get to where you're going. So swings and roundabouts really. But there are some people who still use and like to use a rigid cane. They are still available. You can get canes with a crooked hook, or sometimes they're called like a shepherd hook cane. That's where the top of the cane, where the grip is, would have a curved hook around it. Sometimes it's just personal preference, and that's what someone's had all the time. That's why they like them. The original reason for those was that if you were holding the cane in a diagonal position, the crook would actually give your knuckles a little bit of extra protection if that were to come into contact with something. So that was the reason for those. Not just to help handy for picking up your cane on your coat hanger or whatever. So you might see people using a crooked hook, a crooked handle cane. Oh, I was trying to get my words out there, sorry. You can get canes that fold up within themselves, a telescopic cane. And quite interestingly, you can now get canes, you can now choose your design cane, and you can have a cane in a whole range of colours. I even recently came across a cane that was multicoloured. I don't know, it was for Pride, rainbow all the way through. So a coloured cane can enable someone to kind of embrace using a cane and have their kind of own style with it. And I've got one of the people I've worked with, she's got a pink sparkly one, and that's very much her, and she's out there using a pink cane, and that's brilliant. They're still reflective, so they're still going to help to be seen by, car lights, etc. And I think people will still realise if you use it a long cane and moving with a cane, despite it not being white, they'll certainly realise why you're using it. So I still think it's a really kind of useful kind of symbol of your visual impairment. So that's all the main types of long cane, but I wanted to just talk about a few other canes which are available. So I'm just going to move to the next slide, which lists these different canes. So all of the canes which I've described, the symbol, the guide, and the long cane, are available with red banding on them. The reason for that, having a red and white cane, is for people that have hearing impairment, so or dual sensory loss. So that's to indicate to others that you have a hearing impairment alongside your visual impairment. So that can be really useful for people to be aware of that. So if you do have a hearing impairment, you can make sure you have a cane that has that red taping if that's what you want to be able to do. The next one I'm going to mention is the no job cane. This is available from the RNIB. It's an Ambutech cane. And basically this cane has got like a spring mechanism within it that has a shock absorbing effect. So some people find that they get a little bit of a kind of jar when their cane touches things and finds things, and that just reduces that a little bit. So that's the no jab cane, quite popular really, and some local authorities are providing those, so that's an option for you there. The next one I'm going to talk about, which has been going on a little while, but it's quite still hot on the market, are smart canes. So this is where we've added some technology to the cane. There's two main types out there. One's called the WeWalk and the other is the Ultra cane. What these do is I've frozen, but I hope you can still hear me. Yeah, I'm back. What they do is they have like an ultrasonic sensor that goes out from the bottom of the cane and detects obstacles. And then when the sensor detects an obstacle, the handle vibrates. So that's essentially how they work. The WeWalk cane has a built-in GPS that you can link to an app, and you can and your headphones. So it's a navigation app similar to Soundscape, and can provide this kind of all-in-one thing together. So that's the WeWalk cane. So I haven't had any personal experience of working with anyone who uses those, but I'm hoping to get involved with that in the future to see whether they're going to be beneficial for everybody. So I'd be interested if anybody here has had a go with one to see what you think. And the final thing I wanted to mention about canes are support canes. So these are canes, basically like a walking stick type cane used to support somebody with their mobility. These would be provided by occupational therapists or physiotherapists rather than people who do my job generally. And you can use a long cane or any of the types of canes if you're using a walking stick. In fact, I've worked with somebody recently. He used a crutch actually due to a condition with his knee, and he had the crutch on one side and the cane on the other side, and that worked really well for him. So sport canes are a little bit different, and you can have them in a white colour to indicate a sight impairment. So I just want to finish with talking about cane training and a little bit of advice and tips. So I would say training is required for using any types of the cane, even the symbol cane, because to get the best use out of the symbol cane, to use it correctly, some advice would be helpful. Some training is definitely needed to use a guide cane or a long cane, and that should be provided by a qualified vision rehab specialist or ROVI or mobility trainer. And it is actually a statutory legal requirement of all local authorities to provide the equipment, so to provide your cane and the training. I know that varies on where you live, about your access to that training and how quickly you can get that in the waiting list, but it should be available for you. And the training is all about teaching somebody how to safely and effectively use the cane and all the different techniques, particularly the long cane, and skills that are required. When I'm working with somebody, it's kind of often a balance of building up the skills and the confidence with using a cane, kind of embracing that cane and how it can enable you to do what you want to do. As you get further on with your cane training, you'd be working with somebody to learn routes and how the cane can enable you to get that information from the environment, locate landmarks, etc., to enable you to travel safely and independently wherever you want to go with your cane. And I have the pleasure of delivering cane training nearly every day. I absolutely love it. So a bit of advice and tips. As I've mentioned before, I'd recommend that everybody accesses their local services. Even if you've got a cane and you're competent with using it, good to be in touch with them. They should be providing you with a new tip when you need it, etc. Make sure your cane's in good working order when you're using it. Check the tip hasn't worn down, replace that regularly. If you've got the opportunity, I'd recommend trying different types of canes and different tips to see which would be best for you and what you're most comfortable using and what's most effective for you when you're traveling. And just a few tips for those people using a long cane. First of all, if you can, you should keep your elbow in and your hand should be in the middle, but not too close to your body. It should be your wrist moving the cane from side to side rather than your arm. And if you can be, try and be relaxed with your head up, shoulders down, just moving the cane from side to side in quite a relaxed manner. Something that I got wrong for a long time is your cane should actually be stored unfolded. That way the elastic doesn't kind of get overstretched. So that's just my final tip for you. So thank you ever so much for listening. I hope that's been helpful and informative.
Thank you, Lydia. That was really informative, even for me as well. I'm a recent user of a guide cane. Well, it's been about a year, so it has made a huge difference to my mobility. Like, there's so much I didn't know that I was missing out on, and even posture-wise. So thank you so much. Our next webinar will be about audio description. It will be on the 14th of November. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we look forward to seeing you then.